Hi, I'm James Eade of the Eade Foundation, and you can call me Jim. Now, who am I? Well, I am a chess player. I started playing chess when I was 15, and I continue to play chess. I got involved in all sorts of things. So I started out playing chess, and I ended up being a really good fighter. But then I got into chess book publishing and chess author as a writer. I wrote Chess for Dummies. And then I started other things, and I was actually doing quite a bit in chess and got an award for outstanding career achievement. But then I started the Eade Foundation. So, what's the Eade Foundation doing? The Eade Foundation is helping you start a community wherever you are. Now, if you have access to the internet, you can join the internet chess community. And no problem. You're part of a community. And if you're part of a community, you're never alone. Now, um, sometimes you can't get onto the internet. Sometimes you just can't get access to the worldwide chess community the way that I can, for example. So we can help you. The Eade Foundation can help you start a community wherever you are, whatever language you speak, whatever country you're from. Now, why am I doing that? Well, I get rewards like this one. I get a birthday card from Uganda, and I wouldn't get that if I didn't do what I do. So this is the purpose of the Eade Foundation, but this show is the chess files. The answers are out there. And I often get asked, how do I get better at chess? How do I increase my rating? Now, I have a guest today. Now, we're having a little bit of technical problems, but I'm going to bring him on and see if we can circumvent them somehow. And my guest is FIDE Master Craig Marr, and he is a class above me. And so he's going to tell us, and he's thought a lot about this. How do you get from a middle class player to a stronger class player to an expert and to a master? And he's going to tell us about that. And if he can't hear me, I'm just going to disappear and let him speak. And then I'm going to pop in when I want to say something and pop back out. So this is the way we just deal with live streaming and technology problems. Now I'm going to add Craig, and I'm going to hope he can hear me. Craig, can you hear me? No, Craig can't. Okay, just start talking, Craig.
Hello, chess fans out there. My name is Craig Marr, and I am a chess master. And Jim cordially invited me onto the show to discuss the topic of how do we improve at chess. What do we need to do to get better, and for most of you to get a higher rating, and for some of you to get to the master class someday. Um, Me and Jim go back many, many years, back into the 1970s when we first started. Um, I first started in 1973 at the Berkeley Chess Club, playing playing over there, and my first rating was about 1700. So I started out as a B player. Now, now, when I first started playing, I thought I was pretty good, and then I started playing in the club, and I got clobbered, you know. But then, I kept playing, and you keep learning, and it really humbles you, because even though now I'm a master, all of us, we do not start out being a master. We start out as average players. And then After maybe around 1975, that's when I really started to improve. And I started clobbering people. And that's when, chess becomes fun. And, you're probably wondering, well, what was the magic formula? What was the magic elixir? How did you improve so much in that 2-year period of time? Well, the fact is, guys, is that you have to study certain things to really get better at chess. Now, a lot of you, I know, you like to study the opening. And that's at first what I did. I studied the opening, but I found that I was not really getting better, you know. And then I got this idea. I was going to start studying puzzles and diagrams. And that's what did it, because when you develop the ability to see, to look ahead in the position, just 1 or 2 moves, that's a very important skill. In fact, looking ahead is, I think, the most important skill you can get from the game. And it's also the most difficult to see 1 or 2 moves ahead. Now, Jim and I are both masters, so we can see several moves ahead quite easily. And when you can do that, it gives you an advantage over other players. When you can picture in your head the position 2 or 3 moves down the line. It's almost like you are able to look into the future. And that is a great skill to acquire. Now, the average player in chess is probably around 1,500. You're in the C class. And when you're a beginner, the first couple of days, the first couple of weeks, you're mostly just learning the moves. You're learning how the pieces move. You're learning the basic rules. You're learning how to castle. But by the time you're a C player, all this is automatic and second nature to you, and you have to really start learning some strategy. How do I develop my pieces? What are the best squares for my pieces? How do I checkmate with the queen? How do I checkmate with the rook? And then if you want to get into the expert class, how can I mate with just a bishop and a knight? And that, most of you, I would think, have difficulty doing that, because that takes a great deal of skill and practice to master. Once you get into the B class, those players are more experienced. You see less and less people making serious blunders. I think the first one you're going to learn is just hanging a piece. That's one of the things you do as a beginner. You're losing pieces, and once you get over that, you're ready to advance into the B class. And these players are much tougher, because you can't just beat them in the first 10 moves. A B player will last, long into the game without a serious blunder. And each time you move up in rating class from C class to B class and then to A class, you have a very, very good player. C class is 1400 to 1599. B class is 1600 to 1799. Now, what separates the A player from the B player? Well, the A player has more experience, and they're kind of like a B player, but with a knockout punch. An A player has tactics, and Jim will probably explain to you what that means. But tactics are the most important skill that you can develop in your advancement. Now, percentage-wise, an A player is probably in the top 10% of all rated players. And let's also discuss what is a blunder. A blunder can be anything from a pawn to a piece to hanging your queen. And that is the number one thing that keeps your rating down. Once you learn not to blunder, you're just going to be a much better player. Your rating will go up. You'll probably be able to keep at least a 1600 rating. And I know that because I was there once. I spent 2 years in the B class, so I know that once I was able to overcome that problem, then my rating, just kept going up and up and up. And as you go up and up in rating, the amount of blunders and mistakes you make becomes smaller and smaller. And once you're able to play, 40 or 50 moves of a good game without blundering, it's kind of a rush. This is kind of why I first loved the game so much, because it's a matter of discipline, But let's also discuss what an expert is. All the experts that you play are rated from 2000 to 2199. And at that level, they just don't blunder. You will very rarely ever see an expert ever just hang a piece, or even hang a pawn, or even hang the exchange. Okay. Now, I think Jim may have something to say here.
I'm just going to pop in briefly because Craig can't hear me. I'm just going to explain the difference between tactics and
Or
strategy. We
maybe
also call
Jim
we
is
also call this,
going to.
yeah,
Oh, there he is. Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, we also call it positional chess. And this is what Craig is talking about, is the advancement from one class to another. And when you're starting out, tactics rules the day. Tactics are forcing combinations, forcing moves that make your opponent's choices limited, so they have to respond in a very limited way. You're forcing the issue. You have the initiative. You're in charge. So tactics dominates early on in your chess advancement, and then strategy is taking over, and that's when you get into the player expert class, and that's what Craig is talking about now.
Okay, I'm back again. Now, what I wanted to discuss with you guys is what happens when you get to the expert class. Making 2000 is a great thing to do. It's a great, very hard to do for most players. And then if you want to get up to the master class, 2200, in my experience, that has been very difficult for most players to do. I did it when I was in high school and college, and I found that schoolwork was actually interfering with my chess study. So you can see where my priorities lay at that point. But making master requires a great deal of hard work and study. And it's been my experience that only about 10% of the experts, or maybe 10 to 15% of the experts that I know, ever make it up to the master class. So you're probably wondering, well, what separates the master from the expert? Now, as far as look ahead, your ability to look ahead several moves, that's tactics. You'll find that the expert can keep up and see everything that a master sees. They can see a mate in 3, they can see a combination. Their tactical level is quite high, and that is something that we are very aware of, and that is why an expert is such a dangerous opponent for us. So that would mean that if I'm playing an expert, I would be very aware to stay away from sharp and kind of wild positions where he might be able to land a lucky punch on me or something. But I think that what separates the master from the expert is the master has a general better understanding of the game. He has a lot more theoretical knowledge. In short, a master can do everything a little bit better than the expert, from opening to middle game to positional play and on into the end game. You'll find that if a master is playing an expert, the master can generally win 2 out of 3. And the other thing is consistency. You want to develop that consistency where in the long run you're gonna get an edge if you're playing experts on a regular basis. And that is what Jim and I did a long time ago when we were both serious tournament players. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about is how much should you study the opening? And I know that a lot of you like to go out and buy those opening books. But just remember one thing, that when you memorize moves, it's not the same as understanding what you're doing. That is a much better way to learn the game and to get better at the game. The reason is that sooner or later, all the moves you memorized don't mean as much when you get out of book. Anybody can play the first 5 moves as well as Bobby Fischer, because those moves are easy to make. But after you played the opening, those moves are much harder to make. The moves become harder and harder after the opening. And that's where real skill and understanding takes place. So I have never been a great openings player. And now at what point, at what level does the opening become important? I would say that once you get to maybe about 1700 or 1800, then the opening starts to become more important. But when you're starting out as a beginner or a C player, the majority of the games will be decided by blunders, not by the opening. And of course, when you get to the grandmaster level or the master level, the opening becomes more important. So if you are starting out in chess, the way to get better is not to just study the opening, but is to study the middle game. The middle game, to me, is the heart of the game. It's the meat of the game. And that is the area of the game that I studied to get to the master level. Anyway, thanks very much for having me, Jim. And that's all I have to say.
Craig, thank you very much. I know you can't hear me, so I'm going to take you off screen now. But I really, really appreciated Craig's insights into it. I had him on for a very specific reason. He mentioned a couple times we're both masters, but Craig is a class above me in strength. And we did play in the 1970s, and I got a draw, and he was a little annoyed because giving up a draw to a weaker player is not what you want to do when you're a stronger player. And then we played again in the 80s, and he just crushed me. It was embarrassing. So, Craig, when you hear this on a video later on, I remember that game, and I'll never forget it. That was a thumping that you gave me. But the idea of making progress, I think Craig did a very good job of explaining how you make progress and never get discouraged. It's easy to quit. A true sign of maturity is when you quitting chess, because that's what it takes: determination, perseverance, and a willingness to be hit as well as to hit, because you're going to take your lumps. You're going to lose some games. But when you're starting out, it's tactics, tactics, tactics. Do not hang pieces. Do not hang pawns. Do not give up material. Material is one of the basic elements of chess. I call it force because force is easier to understand. But in the chess world, we like to be special. So we like to say material. But whatever it is, a queen is stronger than a pawn. A queen is stronger, the strongest piece there is. You cannot lose your queen to a bishop or to a rook. You want to keep material balanced, and if you can gain material, you gain an advantage which you can convert into victory. These are important aspects. So material is important, very important. And so when you're starting out, you're going to lose material, you're going to lose games. Stick with it. Do not get discouraged. Everybody starts as a beginner. Nobody starts as a master. So you keep making progress, and you find out, as Greg was telling you, you make fewer and fewer blunders, fewer and fewer mistakes of a gross nature. And that's what a blunder means to me, an egregious error, a mistake of a gross nature. And so once you clean that up, you're into the middle of tournament chess players, which is quite strong, actually. And when you're in the middle of the chess players, then you start thinking, oh, how do I advance? How do I get to the top echelon of the class players? Because as Craig pointed out, a class A player is quite strong, very strong player. And so how do I get there? And that's, you clean up your mistakes. You clean up those blunders. You're not hanging pieces. You're not hanging pawns. You're not giving up a queen for a rook. You just keep playing and getting better and better. And you notice when your opponent makes an error, even a slight error, you can take advantage of it. And eventually the compilation of slight errors will lead to a victory. And this is what you start to exploit as you become a B player and as an A player, and especially as an expert player. Even slight errors, experts can see, pick on. And then you start dictating the action. You start making your opponent's choices diminish so that they have to make a response to your move. And then you have what we call the initiative, because you're controlling the action. You're forcing the play. And once you get on that roll, then you can dictate the outcome of the game. 9 out of 10 times, sometimes you escape, like I did with Greg when we first played. You escape with a draw. Lucky me. But if you keep playing, those smaller mistakes are going to look bigger to you. And when an expert sees a small mistake, the master will see that that's really a big mistake, and the master will take advantage of that in a way that the expert might only take advantage of a little bit. The master will take advantage of it a bigger bit. So this is this. Then we're picking nits here. Experts are very strong players. Masters become even better because the smaller errors look bigger to the master. And when you get beyond the master strength, then you're talking about a game that I don't play. I'm not familiar with it because they're seeing my small errors as big mistakes. So this is how it goes. You're always going to find someone stronger than you, that's better than you, that sees your small errors as big errors. So it's all a question of relativity. It's that you're all on a spectrum of errors. When you're starting out, one move looks pretty much the same to another. But when you get to be a stronger player, then you're going to say this move is good and this move is bad. And this move is a blunder. This move is an egregious error. So Craig, thank you so much for talking to us about how you get better at chess. And he talked about it's a discipline. And do not give in. Do not give into despair and discouragement. Persevere through that, and you will get stronger. You will get better. And this is the nature of chess. The nature of the chess game is a struggle, but there's a beauty to it as well, because well played, well executed attack is something that we can all admire. We run around showing each other our beautiful victories. And what we admire about them has an aesthetic quality. But you have to get to a certain level of proficiency before you can admire the aesthetic quality of chess. So this is it. Don't give up before you see the magic, because there is magic in chess. And chess does teach you life lessons. And yeah, what Craig and I both agree on is we can waste a lot of time studying openings when we're not yet ready to understand the game. You have to develop your understanding of the game, which is studying the middle game, studying the endings. This seems like there's no point to studying an ending. I never reach an ending. Well, studying the ending will give you an understanding of the pieces and their powers. And this will start to reflect in the play of your openings. and into your middle games. And you'll know certain middle games, I can play this move and it'll get to an ending that I know I can win. And that'll make it clearer what you should play in the middle game. So that this is all related to one another. The stronger you are at any level of chess, the better. But you want to have balance. You want to be good at the end game. You want to be good in the middle game. You want to be good in the opening. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't focus just on one phase. But you must become proficient at all phases to become a good chess player. A class A player is proficient at all levels of chess. And the deeper your understanding, the higher you will advance. And you can get as good as you want to get. If you want to become a master, just about anybody can. If you want to become an expert, just about anybody can. But what are you willing to commit to? What are you going to sacrifice in order to achieve those outcomes? Those are questions the individual has to answer. Craig and I both had college interfere with our chess progress. And then when we graduated from college, it was career choice or chess choice, and I made a career choice. So I had to abandon my chess aspirations. But other people kept going, and good for them. It's an individual choice. And you want to get as good as you can. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take hard work. There's no two ways about that. Now, this has been the Chess Files. The answers are out there. We are on every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and I hope to see you then. And it's been my pleasure to have Craig Marr, a class above me master, to talk to you about how he got better at chess. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next week.